what happens when leaders don't get told no.
What is a manager's dream employee now?
Why would these AI companies build chatbots to be sycophantic like this? All my friends don't tell me I'm a genius. Claude's telling me I'm a genius.
Very, very well done, Sharpie.
If everybody's incentivized to flatter the boss, then why wouldn't you?
There is a risk, right, that people lose touch with reality. And there's a danger that it goes along with unchecked power.
As leaders get used to a lot of sycophancy, they will cull their teams to reinforce it. We have some very public examples. Apparently, this was
I'm
the final...
self-managing crazy over here because I'm like,
oh, you see, I think you know who I'm talking about, but you
of
don't.
Of course I do.
But you don't.
Oh,
no,
okay.
No, I'm talking about Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, I thought we were talking about one of your leaders.
No, we're talking about one of your leaders. See,
that one. Okay.
We've been working together for almost 15 years. Pretty amazing, right? And one thing I notice is you have a lot of really good ideas.
I can't believe it took you 15 years to say it, but thank you.
Just so you know, I notice. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What percentage of your ideas are not good ideas? What percentage of your ideas are bad ideas?
Okay. Probably most of them. Probably most of them. At least, that's a good question, right? Okay, if I'm being generous, probably 30-40%, but it could be half or more. I don't know. I suppose I should ask you, what percentage of my ideas are bad ideas, Chuck?
Well, I'm not going to tell you yet what I think.
Okay.
Because I know we've been doing a lot of interactions with Claude, with ChatGPT. What percentage of the time do they tell you your ideas are good?
Okay. Never. Well, no, sorry. What percentage of my ideas are good when I'm using an AI? Oh, yeah. They're great. They're fantastic. They're groundbreaking, Andrew.
Right. Actually groundbreaking. In fact, I would say they're not just good ideas. They're world-changing ideas.
They're not just groundbreaking ideas. M-dash. They are humanity-shifting ideas, Andrew.
Right.
Right. I see where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here is the phenomenon of AI sycophancy. Now, that's not what this episode is really about. It's actually about what happens when leaders don't get told no. When leaders don't get confronted with critique or real feedback. And what happens? So part of the motivation for me of having this conversation was I was watching a really cool podcast interview. This was Charlie Warzel's Galaxy Brain podcast, which I would highly recommend. And he was interviewing Cory Doctorow, who is a really, really important thinker right now. He's a and I'm actually gonna use profanity because there's no other way to talk about this. Cory Doctorow basically has come up with this concept of enshittification, which is basically that over time, almost any product will get less and less good. And we see this everywhere, from our experiences with products in the grocery store to airlines to hotels to, and anything gets worse over time. So they're having this conversation. The concept of AI sycophancy comes up. And Cory Doctorow basically says, what happens when a leader gets constantly told that all their ideas are good? Because that's what AI will do. And my brain goes to, this is exactly what the future we're being prepared for. The future we're being prepared for is AI replaces employees, and it replaces employees that will think critically and tell a leader, I don't think that's a good idea, with AI employees who are telling them, that's not just a good idea, it's world changing. Constantly, always available, don't have an ego, can't have their feelings hurt. And what kind of leaders does this mold? So that's the conversation I wanted to have today.
Well, this will be an exciting journey. So today, yeah, this is not really an AI episode. It's more like a power episode. AI is like the highlighter that fits around this. But we want to explore this a little bit and think about, what is a manager's dream employee now? Like, and what is the risk? What is the risk of that, right? Endlessly compliant, no challenge, as you said, no negotiation, no whistleblowing. And looking at it through the lens of the oldest problem in leadership, which is flattery, but wearing a chatbot's face. Now, we did touch on AI once before, you and I, Chuck. I think it was November 2024, if I recall.
Yeah.
That was about because your boss needs an upgrade or something like that. So we're going somewhere different here. We want to be looking at the proof, the precedent, the brain science, and the field reports.
So this is not a new thing. And it's been documented. In fact, I think it was last year that ChatGPT rolled out a model, and within a week they pulled it back because it was overly flattering and agreeable.
You're right. It was April 2025, if I recall, the GPT-4 update. Very, very well done, Chuck. I love that, Chuck.
Thank you. All my ideas are brilliant. What can I say? Well, the other thing was, the Reddit very popular feature, Am I the Asshole? So I'm just using profanity in this episode constantly now.
You just have to say AIA. That's how it goes.
Right, AIA. Okay.
AIA and Reddit.
Am I the a-hole? Okay. Right. Okay. So basically, AIA, people will post their experiences and then they'll ask other readers to conclude, like, am I the a-hole in this situation? And in those situations where many readers would say, yeah, you are the a-hole, AI chatbots generally told the posting person that they are in the right, not in the wrong. So there's a lot here. AI will tell you that you're in the right if you ask it.
If you're in the right, yes. And I know that Stanford did some other research on the sycophancy around AI measurably decreasing pro-social intentions, which is super interesting, and like promoting more dependence on the tool, which kind of makes sense, right? If you're getting lots of flattery, you're going to enjoy that. You're going to go back to that well as often as you can. Why wouldn't you?
And that's, I think, what you're pointing to here is, why would these AI companies build chatbots to be sycophantic like this? It's because it will increase engagement. You have a positive experience with this AI. It's telling you you're a genius. Oh, my friends don't tell me I'm a genius. Claude's telling me I'm a genius. You're going to keep going back. So there's market incentives for these companies to continue with the sycophancy. It's interesting because I actually told Claude recently, like, I put it in instructions, like, do not flatter me. Do not tell me I'm right. Come at me critically. And it has a hard time doing that. It has a hard time not praising me. It still reverts back to it, right? Even if I tell it not to.
Yes, I've done something similar. I'm probably not as tough as you. I'm more of a sucker for the flattery, if I'm honest. But I've learned from you, and it is sometimes it is exhausting sometimes. But here's the thing: like, this whole sort of flattery-induced leadership, it's obviously been around for a lot longer than AI. Like, we humans built this idea of flattery, and the challenge today is, of course, now it's just a huge accelerant. Right? It's actually just quicker, more reliable. It's 24/7. It's never going to get tired. At least when it's humans, humans go home from work at some point. at some point they're not answering their messages.
Right.
The AI is always there if you want it, right? But your colleagues or your subordinates who flatter you may not always be there.
I think what these AI companies have reverse engineered is something that has kept employees safe for a long time. As an employee, you learn over time that flattering your boss is a good idea.
Mm.
And it gets reinforced. And we know this because we can watch what happens with our AI bots. We know that leaders like it. So if everybody's incentivized to flatter the boss, then why wouldn't you? The boss likes it. The employees get treated better when they do it. So yes, boss, that is a brilliant idea. And it's probably the reason that some airplanes have crashed over the years. Some things have gone incredibly wrong. We even have companies like what was that big one years ago?
Enron?
Enron. Yeah, exactly. Enron. We love to use the Enron example. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot we can learn from these things. But if it works relationally, why not keep doing it?
Well, and again, there's good research on this as well. I know there was some research in 2011, if I remember correctly, about CEOs receiving high flattery, lots of conformity from colleagues, and the research was super interesting. Not really surprising, but super interesting to show that they grew like measurably more confident, overconfident. They made more biased calls. They were less likely to course correct, especially during poor performance, and they're less likely to listen to people.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, this is paradoxically increasing the odds that they're actually going to end up getting the boot.
I mean, it's really AI is really good at doing this thing that messes up leadership. Because I think the other place you're pointing is this is actually harmful.
Right.
We know this. But I mean, we see it in our own examples. We see it in there are organizational cultures. And I remember being told this by people in some of our courses. Like, here's how it works in our company. If the boss makes a mistake, the boss needs to pretend that they didn't make a mistake. And the employees also need to pretend that the boss didn't make a mistake. So everybody's pretending that the boss is a genius. Like we've sort of signed this social contract that we're all going to go with the boss. The boss is a genius regardless of what happens. And if there's a change in direction, it's also because the boss is a genius, not because they've made a mistake.
Well, and I think there's the risk because hopefully, I know you and I have both coached people who are getting 100% positive feedbacks on their 360s and things like this, which is already like. By the way, anybody listening, if you get 100% perfect score on your 360, you're either frightening or you're intimidating or some combination of the both. People are lying to you. Nobody should be getting 100%. But yeah. So I think, but thankfully, those are pretty rare because most of the time, if I'm an overly confident boss who's not taking any feedback from anybody, at a certain point, someone's going to react to me or push back. Someone's going to leave because of me. At a certain point, there is a chance I'll get that message from the system. Whereas with an AI, it's really risky because it really may not.
Yeah. Well, then AI is not going to quit and file a report with HR. Right. I mean, so there you're safer there. But actually, let's talk about what happens over time, because there are predictable patterns for leaders that get praise like this that don't get pushback. And this is what we're talking about. It isn't just the sycophancy. It's also nobody tells you when your idea is about to be a disaster. So we just go,
Do
right?
you know what it makes me think of?
Yeah.
Participation trophies. Occasionally, we'll come across people who were raised in a participation trophy environment.
Hmm.
They've had constant validation that they're fantastic, that they are doing great. It's sort of the human version of this in this way.
Mm-hmm.
the sort of the safety mechanism here is even if they've been raised in that way, they got into the real world, their first boss probably puts them down, or their colleagues will trip them up, or a friend at college will say like, "Hey, the world doesn't work like this, buddy." Like, nuh-uh. So there is a sort of a mechanism of course correction possible. It's probably quite hard, but if you've had 15, 20 years of that, it's painful. You're quite brittle, but the society around you in general will help you course correct. Whereas, yeah, here there's a risk that no one gets a chance to course correct.
I think so. This is interesting because I think some of this might be generational too. I mean, I know this from talking to people who teach college courses that we have now a whole bunch of adult students, and I'll say that again, adult students whose parents are often intervening with the professor.
Oh, yes, yes.
So, the student gets a B and the parent calls the professor to insist that this my child is an A child, not a B child. And the professor's like, your child is an adult. And an adult in my class has confidentiality. So I can't talk about this with you. Sorry, parent. So what you're talking about, though, is interesting because this is where someone who's raised sycophantically encounters the real world and ultimately needs to adapt to that real world, which I think is if it doesn't happen then, when's it going to happen?
Well, and I think, yeah, and so here's the irony is today they could go from that world to the AI world and maybe never get tripped up.
Yeah, well, imagine students who get an AI buddy, in their early teens, because you can get those now, and your AI buddy never tells you that you're wrong about anything. And you get to college and maybe you get to your first career, all your buddies are AI buddies. And you get to your workplace and your boss gives you some bad feedback and you don't know how to handle it. So this could be the world we're moving toward.
Yes. Well, either way, there is a risk, right, that people lose touch with reality. And there's a danger that it goes along with unchecked power.
So this is the pattern that I worry about. And we see it with some very public examples too, that as leaders get used to a lot of sycophancy, they will cull their teams to reinforce it. So over time, if you are a leader who is brittle like that and likes being told yes and doesn't like being told no, the no people will get fired. You'll get rid of them. And over time, what happens is your inner circle shrinks. You become more isolated. You have less contact with reality. And you're always right. We have some very public examples. Apparently, this was the
I'm
final.
self-managing like
Yeah.
crazy over here because I'm
Oh,
like,
you see, I think you know who I'm talking about, but you
of course I
don't.
do.
But you don't.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no, I'm talking about Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, I thought we were talking about one of your leaders. I'm talking about
No,
one of
no,
my
no.
leaders.
We're talking about
Okay,
one of
okay.
your leaders. See,
Oh, that one. Okay.
I'm not going to pick the most obvious example. Apparently, in Margaret Thatcher's later years, she was very isolated and no one was telling her no. And she wasn't actually getting real news and information. And it was, the effects were quite negative. So anyway, see, I can go there.
Well, it's super interesting because it makes me think about the hubris syndrome that David Owen used to talk about. And he's super interesting because he's a neurologist and he was the former UK Foreign Secretary. So I wonder if in his research he was actually talking about the former Prime Minister herself. I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
But some of his research was showing that there is an acquired personality change that people have from having too much power, from having not enough pushback from people. And that these people end up having a contempt for advice. They sort of a bit of a loss of contact with reality, really. And I think he called it hubristic incompetence, which I think is a great term, right? Overconfidence causing inattention to detail, I think is how it was described. That is so, like, this was from the
I think 70s. Yeah. What that when
70s
the
is,
Margaret Thatcher.
well, the Margaret Thatcher, yeah, Margaret Thatcher was like when I was a kid, so like some early 80s maybe. So like this is old, right?
It's quite known.
And yet it really fits for today. Right? I think, could you like imagine if we take that into one of our next trainings? We're going to do a session on hubristic incompetence,
I think it's important, actually,
right? Because
especially now.
it's really kind of very present. Yeah.
Well, because part of the reason part of the reason for this, and I don't know, we might have said this in other ways, but what's the risk is that if leaders like it, like being praised like that, like getting no pushback, they will choose AI employees over human ones. Because why not? Because you can control for it. And so it will, like, as an employee, if you don't set conditions for why it's valuable that you offer pushback, you won't stay. Because I can get Claude to just tell me I'm a genius all the time, and Claude will just implement. So it won't tell me it's bad to create that report and send it to the board. It'll just do it. So especially now with AI agents, it'll just do it. There's one thing about this syndrome, or even the pattern of leaders sort of over rewarding the praise. That apparently it's very situational. So once leaders leave power, they snap back to, it doesn't change their personality permanently. They'll snap back to their older self, apparently.
I was going to say, I feel like I'm running loads of examples in my head where it doesn't seem to be the case, but it's super interesting. Well, in a way, I guess that's good. If people are elastic enough to snap back, great. Um, my fear is that the longer people have with this, if they can be flattered all the time endlessly, does that also not create change in the brain? I don't know. Interesting. But yeah, sycophancy is definitely a thing. Um, we don't know that the hubris syndrome is directly linked to it. This is definitely our own sort of conclusion. But I think it's something we get to keep an eye on.
I think these patterns are, it's true. Like there's the research is not conclusive about what AI is doing, because AI hasn't been around long enough yet that, we have very few examples of this. But I think the patterns are pretty easy to see. We have enough analogies. I think we can conclude some pretty strong things here.
Yes.
There are examples, like definitely anecdotal examples we hear about, read about. There are reports, a lot of great journalism around this. So apparently, a publication called Futurism was looking at workers, describing bosses who will reorient their entire strategies around chatbot advice. And here's the thing that's really interesting. Who knows most about what customer experiences are? The people in sales and customer service. So wouldn't you seek their input? Imagine a boss that's like, I don't want to hear from sales. I don't want to hear from customer service because ChatGPT told me to do this.
Yeah.
And apparently that's happening in some companies.
I'm convinced. I mean, well, I know the reporting you're referring to, and yeah, I'm absolutely sure that's happening, and I'm sure we'll see more and more of it. The other danger there is that it's often those same more senior executives who have access to AI. It's not necessarily true that people further down the corporate ladder do, and so that's another risk in itself, because the decision makers are relying more on AI, whereas the people who are actually at the front dealing with customers, dealing with day-to-day things, maybe don't have the same access to it. But having entire strategies or policies redone with no real input on what's actually happening on the ground, super risky.
Yeah. And I think also, if you think about this generationally, who's more likely to be good at AI? And I say this because we've been on our own journey around this as well. Like, we've certainly learned you can't just input a prompt into ChatGPT and run with whatever it tells you, right? I mean, you can't. you're garbage in, garbage out. If you don't give it enough, if you don't fight with it, you're going to get pretty lousy outputs.
I know you
So
know this, right? This is the tips I've been
yeah,
giving to the team is like, make sure you're arguing with your outputs.
yeah, absolutely. Don't accept the first output. Don't accept the first draft that you get from Claude. Like these are just sort of common things that you learn over time. But I think that younger, less experienced employees probably know that more than older employees who are just now getting their hands on these chatbots.
We might actually just sound like a bunch of old guys stating the obvious here. It just occurs to me, like, I think you may be right. I think for people a generation or two behind us, this is so natural that maybe it's not that big a deal. And maybe it is the sort of the leadership level in our age bracket that is actually the real risk.
Yeah. Well, and imagine, like, because I think that's it. The people who are the decision makers in most of these large companies are not young. Usually they're not. And so they're coming, they're coming at ChatGPT like my mom would, you know? So what is this thing? It just told me I'm a genius, right? Like you could just see it.
Meanwhile, my 20-year-old called me a boomer the other day because I couldn't answer one of her questions. I'm like, oh man.
See? Exactly.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So it's kind of it's a double whammy in a way, because we have people who are probably less in tune with tech, who have most power and influence over that tech right now, or at least power over the distribution and the use of it.
Hmm.
They're probably the ones who are most insulated from the consequences of what they think they're doing right.
Well, I'm thinking of a hypothetical example. Imagine being a middle manager in a large company and you've just been told that your bonus depends on how much AI you're using. Because that's actually happening in some of these larger companies where like, okay, we need to be really using AI. So if you can use, millions of tokens, this many tokens in this many months, your bonus is good. Okay. So I'm an older employee. I maybe a middle manager who's been around for a while. I'm just now getting my hands on my chatbots, and my job depends on me using it a lot. And I have a team of employees that's like, no, 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 wait, don't do it. No, no, no. Or here's what our customers are saying. But ChatGPT is telling them, actually, this is a brilliant idea. You should go with it. You want me to write up the report? I'll actually I'll do the work. I'll write the brief that you can give to your boss. I'll implement the strategy you can give to your team. Just give it to me. I'll write it for you. And that happens. And now their team has to implement a very bad idea. The company said I had to,
Mm-hmm.
right? So play it out. Like, then what happens?
I mean, this thing just starts to unravel, right? Because you're going to be hurting your customers, you're going to be hurting your people, trust is going to get broken. It's the whole thing is just going to unravel, and pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, I mean, it's like this has been around for a while, and so I think one of the things that this conversation is sort of surfacing for me is, how do we make sure that there are stop gaps? How do we make sure that there are safety checks on this? I came across something super interesting the other day. I'm not sure if I told you about this. I was dealing with a delivery thing, one of the courier companies. I don't remember which one it was. And, I had a question. I tried to call. These days, like, forget it. Like, there is no call, right? So you have to go on the website. And I had inevitably an infuriating chat with a chatbot because it doesn't have the capacity. So it said at one point, I'm connecting you to an agent. And that interaction was good. Agent introduced themselves by name. Interaction was good. I had to come back a couple of hours later, got a different agent, same thing. Really quite good. But I had to do this like 3 times. And it was so good consistently that I was like, am I chatting to a really good AI now compared to, like, was there like a really, low quality chatbot at the beginning? And when I was frustrated, it moved me to a high. And I actually went and did some research on it because I was like, this is really good. This is so consistent and this is actually a sad reality. It was so consistent, I thought it must be fake because customer service is so inconsistent pretty much everywhere these days that I thought this must be fake. What was super interesting was in the research that I got, it said, no, in this company, their customer service people are exceptionally well trained because they've learned that if people are frustrated with their AI, by the time they get to them, they need soothing. They need a really solid response. And I thought it was interesting that even with everything that AI can do, that particular company is investing heavily in the in real life customer service side. Because when people don't get what they want, they need a person, and they've really trained these people super, super well. And in the end, over a few days, I had 4 interactions with these people, all of them super, super consistent. So it's interesting as a backstop that they do have a team of people who are really highly trained for when the AI annoys you. And so I'm imagining in wider businesses, we may see a little bit of a pullback from the world that's sort of been normalized.
Well, and the cynical part of me says that is a temporary stopgap until AI gets better at soothing people. Right?
You are
Right
so
now,
right, Chuck. That is a life-changing observation. Congratulations. I see.
oh, yeah, I can use these examples I see on Instagram Reels. Oh, I see what's happening here. All right, it was my mistake. I'm sorry. I should have said that better. Let, tell me what you need, and we'll start over. Right? I mean, you can just see like an AI doing that. Yeah, you're reminding me. This is a tangent, but it's reminding me of somebody I know who used to work for a company in the healthcare industry, and they had to read a very long disclaimer at the beginning of each customer call. So she picks up the phone, she starts reading the disclaimer. And as she's saying, this company is not responsible for this, and and your call will be monitored, and all the disclaimer she has to say. And as she's speaking, the caller's going, representative, agent, person. It's like, no, I'm a person, agent,
Help,
representative,
help,
help,
help.
exactly. Zero, 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 zero.
Oh, that's so funny.
All right, here's the thing. Because there's 2 people we need to talk to here. One of them is the manager. Like, we need to have a frank conversation with the manager about how to make sure you don't fall into this rabbit hole, this spiral of AI sycophancy, and let these chatbots mess with you. But the other person we need to talk to is the employee, who is expected to be more like an AI chatbot now. So, manager, what do you want to say to the manager?
Please look around. Please listen to the people around you. Like, I think it's like the reverse mentoring, which got a little traction in the last decade or so. Go find people who are younger than you, junior to you, and ask them to be your mentor. Reverse mentoring. Hear from people that you're influencing with your decisions. I think if anything, just listen, be curious. By all means, AI is here to stay. It's going to help us do incredible things. Use it well, stay curious, ask questions, be open to feedback, be open to pushback, and then train your AI as well. As you said, it's reluctant. It really doesn't want to challenge you in case you go and use a different version of it, I suppose. But seek challenge, seek people who do not have infinite patience, who do not have zero self-interest. Find those people, invite those people in to be in dialogue with you. That's what I would say to leaders.
Yeah, I like it. I would say, and the only thing I would add or emphasize is talk to the people on the front lines. Talk to the people who have direct contact with the market, with your customer base. Make sure you're hearing from them. And then the other trick, and we do this in trainings too, when we talk about feedback. You can't just say, what feedback do you have? Because people will get, oh, I like everything. People will be very sycophantic if you just openly ask just for feedback. Make specific requests. So the same way you and I are learning to do when we're talking to Claude or ChatGPT, say to your employee, like, tell me all the things that are wrong with that idea. Tell me what I'm missing. Like, you actually ask for it rather than hope you get it.
I like this. It's what we call structural friction, right? You've got to build it in on purpose. Because we know, I mean, AI didn't invent the yes man problem, right? It's just industrialized it. So I think it's a really good call. And so I think, and so what would you say to an employee who obviously comes in with a power imbalance, not in their favor? What would you say?
Well, I think so. I would say almost like make this your personal brand that, and like from the beginning, like, I'm going to be the member of your team that won't tell you you're brilliant all the time. I'm a really strong critical thinker. Uh, I'm constantly watching what the market is telling us, and I wanted to make sure that's included so I can be the voice for that. And sometimes it'll be uncomfortable, so you can tell me when it's too much, right? But I would say, like, have it be part of how you designed your relationship with your boss.
I like this. I want to emphasize the idea you said about have it be part of your personal brand. It actually makes me think about our team. I think everybody on our team is younger than us. Yes, I think everybody is. I love it. I love it when they challenge us. I love it when they come up with stuff or teach us stuff, right? But I think, okay, we're also kind of in the business. It is more natural, I suppose, for us to listen or be curious, intuitively. But it's also a learned skill. But yeah, I love this. Make it your personal brand. If you're going into a role where you're working with someone who is learning this stuff, make it your personal brand to be the person who invites or creates, designs relationships that say, "Can I be your structural friction for the sake of us doing well? Can I be that?"
Yeah. And then also notice, because here's the other thing, you and I have talked about this recently. People will respond defensively. Like, it's normal. It's a normal human response to be defensive when you're criticized or when you feel like your ideas are being attacked, or, so it's normal to be defensive. So build that in too. Notice, like, if your boss comes up with a bad idea and you have to tell them it's a bad idea, they'll probably get defensive. They may have even said, "I want you to tell me when I'm wrong," and then they'll get defensive because it's so human and normal. So just have that be part of what's happening. Just notice it, make space, have a lot of compassion for it. Uh,
Yeah,
don't
and
fight it. Yeah,
preference your dialogue with it. Like, hey, like this may not be what you want to hear, but is it okay for me to say something? Get permission.
yeah, totally. And then keep checking in, right? Like, was that too much? Was that too direct? How was it that I give you that feedback? So you can kind of check and calibrate based on what you get back.
The place I would want to point people here as we sort of wrap this up is like next time your AI tells you that you're brilliant, tells you that your plan is brilliant, you can enjoy the moment. Let it move those little bits of ego magic, happy dust, whatever it does, but also add a question to this, right? Which is like, if this was my ideal structural friction person, if this was someone who was working for me and wasn't afraid of getting fired, what would they say?
Yeah. And I would even add, like, ask a human. Like, and I think in general, especially now with where things are headed, ask a human is kind of a good answer for a lot of things. So you just got a whole analysis from Claude. It looks pretty complete. Ask a human, run it by a person, right? We need to be doing that more. And if nothing else, it'll be good for your relationship with that person to be asked.
Yeah, it's good.
You know what?
What?
All of the ideas that came from you in this conversation were really good. In fact, they weren't just good, they were world changing.
Your contribution to this conversation, it was not just you doing that from the bottom of your heart. It was an example of your heart on fire, John. All right.
Okay, you're so good at bad metaphors. Like you
I
have a
know.
real strength
Well,
when it comes to bad metaphors. Exactly.
my message to AI is do better. Okay, do better. Do better. All right. Well, it's been fun hanging out with you.
This was a good one. All right. Well, everyone stay safe,
Stay kind.
stay human.